So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's class. Well, it is lecture number 23, as you can see, and we were discussing work, power, and energy. In fact, we have covered all the three aspects: work, variable work, work done by a variable force, work done by a fixed force. We have covered that. Energy, the capacity to do work, potential energy, kinetic energy, gravitational potential energy, spring potential energy, half kx square. We have covered that. And the last part of this was power, average power, instantaneous power. The rate at which work is done or energy is spent is power. And we had done some numericals based on the same. Well, that brings us to an end of this particular chapter. But now, uh, in most of the cases, the problems that you are going to face in this chapter will be based somehow on circular motion. Now, these problems would be requiring the concepts of circular motion and circular dynamics, we call it. Circular dynamics, we call it. I'm sure you are aware of circular motion. You have done circular motion with the other physics teacher. Is it correct? Abhiram, Tanu, Vasant, you have covered circular motion in the other class, right? Even though you have covered circular motion in the other class, we'll have a quick recap of the same part because I would be needing circular motion, a lot of it though. May not be a lot of it. I'll just need some small part of it to solve questions of work, power, and energy, which are based on this circular motion. But since I have to use circular motion in the solving of questions, I would rather have a quick recap of what was circular motion and just revisit some concepts of circular motion so that we are up, ready, and running to do the problems that we are supposed to do. Obviously, I will not be discussing the entire thing. I would only be discussing the basic points, some small points that I would be requiring for this particular chapter. So let us start with circular motion, circular kinetics, then we will have to deal with circular dynamics. Let us first start with this. You can make your notes. I would be sending you this sheet. This sheet is already there with the office. I'm sure you will get it. If not, I will just inquire and ask whether this sheet is there. It has been distributed or not. If it's not, I will send it to you right away. So we will have to start with circular motion and let us set the ball rolling with this circular motion. Let us set the ball rolling with this circular motion. Anyone has any idea of what is circular motion? Anyone could share any thoughts on circular motion? Anyone in the offline class? Oh, there's no one in the offline class. Anyone in the online class can share some thoughts on circular motion. What is circular motion? What it is all about? Tanu, Abhiram, Vaishnavi. I guess all of you are there. And you have gone through circular motion. Can you share some insights on circular motion? What is circular motion?
Sir, it rotates in circular path.
Vaishnavi says it rotates in circular path. Okay. It rotates in circular path. What rotates in circular paths? So you have to be very precise with what you are saying. It rotates in the circular path. When you're saying it, Vaishnavi, you are basically referring to a particle. So when a particle moves in a plane such that, so it is moving in a plane. So the circular motion is an example of what? It's an example of motion in two dimension, because this is going to happen in a plane. This motion happens on a plane. This motion happens on a surface. A surface is a two-dimensional body. A surface is a two-dimensional body, and hence we call this motion as motion in two dimensions. I hope this is clear to all. This is motion in two dimension. Tanu is saying center always remains same. I don't understand. See, sometimes the problem is that we understand it, but when someone asks us what is this, we are not able to explain it. Now, it is possible that we are not able to explain it. It is possible that if someone asks me what is an apple, it would be very difficult for me to explain what an apple is. I'll have to show him an apple, and this is an apple. You eat it, it is a fruit, and you get all sorts of vitamins, proteins, calcium, mineral, vitamin, whatever, and you like it. The taste is good. He may not like it. Sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to understand, to explain something, but that should not be the case in physics. No. If there is a concept in physics and we have understood it, we should be able to make other people understand. That is the beauty of physics. If you're not able to make it understand, that means there is something wrong in the understanding of the topic that we have understood. Remember that. So, what is a circular motion? Now, circular motion has got something with a circle. To understand circular motion, we must understand what is a circle. What is a circle? This thing is a circle. It's not perfect circle. So what is the property of a circle? Every circle has a center, and if you find out the distance of any point on this trajectory, if I call it trajectory, so the distance of any point on the circle is same from the center of the circle. So basically, circle is a mathematical concept, and we can define it as the locus of all points whose distance from the fixed point remains same. Now that fixed point is known as the center of the circle, and that fixed distance is known as the radius of the circle. So if any body or any particle, anything is moving in a plane, remember we are talking about a plane, it has to be moving in a plane, because it can move in space also such that its distance remains same from a fixed point, that would not be circular motion. So it has to move in a plane. This is an example of motion in two dimensions. When a particle moves in a plane such that its distance from a fixed point, now this point can be fixed, or this point can also be moving. That is why what Tanu was saying, that the center remains fixed, does not hold. Center may not remain fixed. The center can also keep on moving. Remember that. Normally, when we talk about circular motion in this particular chapter, we always talk about circular motion with a fixed center. Now, if you're always talking about circular motion with a fixed center, that does not mean that circular motion cannot happen with a moving center. It can also happen with a moving center as well. That is also circular motion. Example of a circular motion which is happening with a moving center, your motion of the wheel of a bicycle or the motion of the wheel of a car. The car moves forward. The center of that circle is moving forward, rotational motion, pure rolling. The center is also moving forward, but all the particles on the rim of that tire are following circular motion, simple circular motion, as seen from the center of that. But the center of that wheel is not at rest. The center of that wheel is also moving. So saying that circular motion happens when a fixed point is there is not exactly correct. That point can also be moving. But in most of the cases, when we are going to do it here in this particular chapter, that point is going to remain fixed. So when a particle moves in a plane such that a distance from a fixed point remains constant, then its motion is known as circular motion because it will be moving on a circular path. But remember, it will be known as circular motion with respect to that fixed or moving point. Very important point to understand. It is circular motion only with respect to the center of the circle. It is not circular motion with respect to someone else. That means that when a cycle is moving and you look at the motion of the cycle ka wheel and you see any point on the rim of that cycle ka wheel from ground, its motion is not circular, its motion is cycloidal. But when you see it from the center of that wheel, it will be always circular motion. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Can I have some raised hands that we understand what is circular motion? Circular motion is the motion of a body in a plane such that its distance from a fixed point, this point can be fixed or moving, will remain constant. That fixed point is known as the fixed point is known as the center of the circle or center of the circular motion, and the fixed distance is known as the radius denoted by r. This is how we should define circular motion. Am I clear with everyone? Only Abhiram has raised hands. What about the others? Vaishnavi, Vasant, Tarun, Tanu, are we on the same page? Vaishnavi seems to be there. What about others? Tanu, Tarun, Vasant? Do we understand what is circular motion? I hope you remember this definition and you can note it down as well. That would be good. If you can note this down, whatever I have underlined, please note it down. This is the exact and a very, very good definition of circular motion, the best definition that you can ever get. 2 minutes, note it down. I hope everyone has noted this down. Don't worry, I'll be sending this in your group. You can note it down if you have missed something. You can leave some space, 3 lines, 4 lines, that is good enough. What about the next thing? We are going to do dynamics of circular motion. I have told you the difference between kinetics and dynamics. In kinematics, we study the motion of a particle. In dynamics, we study the cause of motion. We are going to do both here. First of all, let us talk about some basic terms that we are going to use in circular motion. The first term is known as angular position. Now, this angular position, everything that you encounter in circular motion, or for that matter, rotational motion, is an analog. As I have already told you, a particle in motion, its motion can be three types. Motion of any body can be of three types. It could be pure translation, which is what we are doing in this class, is known as pure translational. I hope I have told you what is pure translational. Um, this body, if it is moving like this, or this is pure translation. I will not go into the definition because that definition is a part of rotational motion. It is not a part of this particular thing. Then it could be a pure translation, a pure rotational motion. Now, when I say pure rotational motion, what do I mean to say is the motion of this fan, which you can't see. When you switch on this fan, it goes ghar 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 ghar. That is pure rotational. It does not have any translational motion. It only has rotational motion. Then the third one, you can call it as mixed motion. Now, this consists of translational as well as rotational. For example, I should not throw this pen. Which one can I throw? I can throw this. If I throw this pencil like this, tung 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 tung. See, how is this pencil moving? I think I have told you, I have demonstrated it before. This pencil goes like this, tuck, 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 it goes up, tuck, 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 it goes down. This is a combined motion or a mixed motion. It is rotating at the same time, it is also moving up and down, rotating and moving up and down. If you see the motion of a wheel of a car or a bicycle or a motorbike or a scooty, that wheel rotates, dung, 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 but it also moves forward, a mixed motion. Now, what we are doing in this particular class, what I have told you up till now, lies in the category of pure translation. Pure translation. We have not talked about rotational motion at all. It's a different fact that rotational motion has been covered with the other physics teacher. But in my class, what we have done till now is pure translation. We've only talked about translational motion. In the other class, you are doing probably pure rotational motion, or probably you have covered that as well. Pure rotational motion of a fan. Now I'm going to concentrate on this pure translation and pure rotation, and I'm not going to concentrate on anything else. Now this pure translation and pure rotational, instead of calling it pure rotational motion, it would be wrong to say that it is circular motion, but it is not very wrong to say it is circular motion. When we talk about a pure rotational motion, we are talking about the motion of a body which is not a point object. We're talking about the motion of something like this, which has some dimensions. Now, if it is a point object cannot rotate. Point object only has translational motion. But when you have a body which has some dimensions, now if this body moves like this is pure rotation. Now, some people confuse pure rotational with circular motion. Now, pure rotational motion is not circular in the entire sense. There is a subtle difference between pure rotation and circular. Okay, so it is something like circular motion, but if you see, there are infinite number of particles on this pen. Now, when this pen is rotating like this, as you can see, it is rotating like this. All these particles which are on the pen are moving in circular motion. But the radius are moving in circular motion, the center of all these particles, they lie on one straight line, one line. That line is known as the axis of this rotational motion. Now these particles, they move with the same angular velocity, but their distance from the axis or distance from their center or the radius of these particles are different. So we cannot call it pure circular motion, because it is not pure circular motion, because all the particles are executing their own circular motions, but with the same angular velocity, with the same angular acceleration, but the radiuses are different. So it is not purely circular motion. But whatever it is there, if I talk about pure translation and if I talk about circular motion, or for that matter pure rotational motion, they have analogs. What do I mean by analogs? Whatever term we have in translational motion, please mind my words, whatever term we have in translational motion, the same term will come in circular motion, because we understand the circular motion just like what we are trying to understand translational motion. The terms are same, but we make them different by just writing this angular, this word angular before that term, and it becomes a term of circular motion. For example, in translational motion we have velocity. Here we have angular velocity. In pure translation motion we have acceleration. Here we have angular acceleration. Getting my point? Now if I go back to translational motion, the first thing that we discussed in translational motion was position of the particle. Remember? X-axis, y-axis. We have a point P. How do I get the position of this point P? I must have a reference frame. This is my x and y axis. I have a reference axis, reference frame. I have an origin. And how do I get the position of this particle? I draw a vector from here to here, OP vector. And remember, what was this OP vector known as? This OP vector was known as position vector. This OP vector was known as position vector of P with respect to O. This was telling us what? This was telling us the position of P with respect to O. If you know O, you can find out P. Position vector. Do we remember this position vector? Can I have some raise hand? Yes, sir. We remember this position vector. Position vector. Do we remember this position vector in translation motion? Position vector. It was telling us the position of the particle with respect to the origin. Now that position vector was a vector. That is the only difference here. That was telling us the position of the particle with respect to the origin. Here, as I told you, in circular motion, we have same terms, but we put angular there. So it becomes the term of circular motion. We had position vector there in translational motion, position vector. Here we have the same term, but the name of that term is angular position. Now we don't call it angular position vector because it is not a vector. It is an angle. And angles are not vectors. We'll talk about angles and vectors just now. Do we understand this term angular position? Now, what is this term angular position going to tell us? Now, in order to understand this term, we don't have to understand this term. We can understand the previous term that was there. The previous term was position vector. PV, position vector. This position vector was giving me the position of P with respect to O. Position of P with respect to O. Now that makes it very clear what this angular position will tell us. This angular position will tell us if we know the center. And as you can see, the center is there. I'm going to enlarge. I'm going to enlarge this. I'm going to enlarge this. And now I hope you can see this angular position. Now remember, in that position vector, what we needed two axes, x and y. As you can see, we also have the same axis here, x and y. Nothing has changed. We needed an origin. Here also we have an origin. The only difference is that this origin happens to be the center of the circle, nothing else. So far, so good. Same. Now we have this point P, whose position I have to tell you. Now I can draw a vector from O to P. That is OP vector. That will be the position vector of P with respect to O. No problems. I can still do that. I can still define the position of this particle P in terms of position vector. Yes, I can do that. Still, I can do that. It is still valid. But since I know that this particle is moving in a circular path, instead of writing position vectors at all these points, it would be simpler. It would be simpler if I just tell you how much is the radius, of the circle, and what angle it makes with the x-axis. And again, it is an angle that it makes with positive x-axis. I just tell you these two things. I don't have to tell you the vector part. Why vector? Why I have to write ij when I can tell you the same thing in a very simple way? By telling you two things. Where is the center? Obviously x and y. I must tell you where the coordinate axes are. How much is the radius? And how much is this angle theta? And remember, anti-clockwise angles are positive. Remember that? Yes or no? And clockwise angles are negative. Do you remember that? I told you that in the very first class. So, in circular motion, it is easier to tell you the radius of this circle and this angle theta. This angle theta is known as its angular position. So if it is making an angle of 30 degrees, I will not write it in 30 degrees. I will write it in radians, pi by 6. Remember that, because radians is the SI thing. I just tell you how much is the radius. Radius is 3 centimeters. Angle is 30 degrees. I am done. Plus 30, minus 30. It is easier to do circular motion in terms of these things rather than in terms of position vector. Are you getting? I can still define the circular motion in terms of position vector at different points. Position vectors would be different and you will get some very different answers. At this point, the position vector will only have x component. It will not have any y component. At this point, the position vector will only have y component. It will not have any x component. It becomes very difficult to understand. Oh God, this is circular motion. Oh, I don't understand it, sir. But when you look at like this, and the radius is 3 centimeters or 5 centimeters, and the angle is plus 30 or minus 30, it is easier. Oh yes, this is circular motion. I can easily plot it. This is known as the angular position of the particle. Am I clear? Can I have some reason that you understand this? Angular position of the particle. It is not a vector. It is given in terms of an angle from the positive x-axis. Do we understand this? Can I have some raised hands? That we understand this? Okay, so that is the angular position of the particle. What is the angular position of the particle? To decide the angular position of a point in space, we need to specify origin and the reference line. The angle made by the position vector, again position vector, with respect to origin with the reference line is known as the angular position. Clearly, angular position depends on the choice of the origin as well as on the reference line. Normally, the origin is taken at the center of the circle and the reference line is taken as positive x-axis. Circular motion is a two-dimensional motion or motion in a plane. Suppose a particle is moving at point P, OP vector, whatever angle it makes with OX, the x-axis, that is known as the angular position of the particle. I think so far and so good. I will give you a minute to notice down what is angular position. A minute. I can't give you much time because I think this is already covered. I'll send you the same sheet. That's why I'm doing it from the sheet and not writing anything on the whatever that whiteboard, because I'll be sending you the same sheet. 1 minute, 2 minute. Well, I hope you have written what is angular position. Don't worry, I'll be sending you this sheet. Relax. You can note it down from the sheet. There's nothing that I've written apart from underlining what is there in the sheet. The next point is what happens when the position of the particle changes. Well, we all know particle P is here. Its position vector is this, tongue. Particle P moves here. Its position vector is this, tongue. Its position has changed. The particle has displaced. And then we have a term known as displacement vector because it is a vector. Do we understand that? Do we remember that term, displacement vector? Displacement is a vector. The change in position vector is known as displacement vector. Do we all understand that? Can I have some reason that we understand? We remember this displacement vector, sir. Change in position vector, sir. Displacement vector, sir. It has a magnitude, it has a direction. Magnitude is the shortest distance. Direction is from the initial position to the final position. Do we all remember this? There it was displacement vector. Here it is simply angular displacement. Final angular position minus initial angular position is known as angular displacement. Angle through which the position vector of the moving particle rotates in a given time interval is known as angular displacement. How I am going to write it? It will be delta theta. Delta means change. Delta means change. Theta means angle. Change in angle. That will be equal to theta final angular position minus theta initial. It is same as final position vector minus initial position vector. I will write it here. Delta r vector, change in position vector, which is the displacement vector, is final position vector minus initial position vector. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this, sir? Final angle minus initial angle. Final, not angle. Final angular position minus initial angular position is your angular displacement, which is same as the displacement vector, final position vector minus initial position vector. Now the thing is whether it is a scalar or a vector. We'll come to it. Let me give you a minute to win it. I'll underline this. Angular displacement depends on the origin. We all know this, but it does not depend on the reference line because the reference line will not come into the picture because we are subtracting the two quantities. So wherever your displacement is, wherever your reference is, it does not depend on the reference line. I'll give you a minute to win it. After that, we will write some important points on this. I hope you have noted it down. Now, what we are going to understand are important points. I hope I have covered this. Important points. And here they come. Important points. Angular displacement is a dimensionless quantity because it is given in terms of an angle. Radians. That is dimensionless, but it is not unitless. I told you. Name a physical quantity which does not have dimension but which has unit. Radian, angle, angular position, angular displacement. It is a dimensionless quantity. SI unit is radian. We all know this. Some unit are degree and revolution. How many revolution it has happened? Remember, one revolution is 360 degrees. It is 2 pi radians. It is the first point that you must always remember and never forget. And the second point is as important as the first one. Why it is as important as the first one? Because we always encounter this question whether angular displacement, remember angular position is not a vector, angular position is simply a scalar. But when you talk about angular displacement, it is a scalar as well as a vector. Why is that so? When the displacement is very small, it is a vector quantity. But when it is large, it is a scalar quantity. That means if I write delta theta is a vector. Sorry, not d theta is a vector. When I write d theta, I mean it is a very small change in angle, and a very small change in angle is a vector. But when I write it as delta theta, delta means a large change in angle, and delta theta is a scalar. So d theta is a vector and delta theta is a scalar. The reason for that is very simple, because addition of small angular displacement is commutative. Commutative property has to hold for a vector, but for large displacement it is not commutative. That means small displacement d theta 1 plus small displacement d theta 2 will be equal to small displacement d theta 2 plus d theta 1, but the other thing is not valid. Now you say, what is this, sir? Don't have to go get into such complicated stuff. I will try to make you understand the second part, why this property does not hold, why commutative property does not hold for large angular displacement or large displacement. See, this is my phone. Okay, I'll rotate it like this. This is my phone. I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees along two axes. First, I'll rotate it like this, 90 degree. So this is, if I say this axis, I rotate like this. Oops. So by 90 degrees, it goes like this. And then I rotate it like this, flip it like this. So what I've done, I've kept it here. I rotated it like this first, 90 degrees. Then I flip it like this. So one rotation is on this axis, and the other rotation is on this axis. See, how does this appear now? It is like this, 90 degrees here, tongue, 90 degrees here, tongue. So it would be like this. This face will be facing upwards. You all understand this? Now I do the same thing in a commutative manner. So I will first flip it on this axis. See, here I had done it like this. First I flipped it like this. Then I flipped it like this. What I'm going to do now is first I'm going to flip it like this. Then I'm going to flip it like this. Now see how it happens. Simple experiment. I'm going to flip it like this. Tung, tung. Then I'm going to flip it. How did I do it? I have to flip it like this. Tung. The orientations are different. we don't get the same orientation. So when I'm flipping it along two different axes, it is not commutative. And that is the reason why angular displacements are scalars as well as vectors. When this is large angular displacement, the commutative property does not hold. If I rotate it on two directions, the orientation that I get at the end of one and the orientation that I get at the end of the other are totally different. Okay, you can try it with your hands. Your hand is like this. First you rotate it like this, then you rotate it like this. And then you rotate it first on one axis and then you rotate it on the other axis. You will get a very different orientation of your hand. That means it is not commutative. So angular displacements, for small angular displacement, d theta is a vector. And for large displacement, it is a scalar. And again, for small displacement, the direction of angular displacement is decided by the right-hand thumb rule. So if I'm rotating something on this axis, this is how it will rotate. If something rotates on this axis, this is how it will rotate. If something rotates on this axis, this is how it will rotate. If something rotates on this axis, this is how it will rotate. Am I clear? I'll give you 2 minutes to note down these 3 points. The only thing that you need to note down is small angular displacement is vector, large angular displacement is a scalar, nothing else. 2 minutes. I hope you have noted this down. Shall I give you 1 more minute? Okay. Let us now move on to the next definition. And the next definition would be, remember, there it was velocity. We denoted it by v vector. Two types of velocity. One was average velocity, v average. Another one was instantaneous velocity, which was simply treated as velocity. Now, remember, the only thing that is different is velocity, whether it was average or instantaneous, they were all vectors. They were all vectors because velocity, position, angular position, position vector, and displacement vector, they were vectors. So rate of change of position vector was a vector. But here, when I talk about angular velocity, which is denoted by the term omega, if I talk about average angular velocity was total change in position, which is total displacement, divided by total time. Here it is total angular displacement divided by total time. So I will write omega average, omega and this dabba, omega average is delta theta by delta t. Now, since delta theta is a scalar, therefore delta theta, large angular displacement, is a scalar. Therefore, average angular velocity is also a scalar. So omega average, average angular velocity is a scalar. Do you all understand this? Can I have some raise hand that you understand this? It is total angular displacement theta 2, theta final minus theta initial divided by final time minus initial time, which is basically the time taken. Total displacement divided by total time is omega average. I'll give you a minute to note it down. I hope you have noted this down. Then the next thing is definitely instantaneous angular velocity. And instantaneous angular velocity is angular velocity at any particular instant. This is a vector, omega. This omega is a vector, which is d theta by dt, because d theta is a vector. Small angular displacement is a vector quantity. Therefore, instantaneous angular displacement is also a vector quantity whose direction is given by right hand thumb rule. I've already told you, if something is rotating on this axis, it is rotating like this. Something is rotating on this axis, rotating like this. If something is rotating on this axis, rotating like this. If something is rotating on this axis, rotating like this. Something is rotating on this axis, rotating like this. Something is rotating on this axis, rotating like this. I hope you understand this. Can I have some raise hand that we understand this? Tarun, Tanu, Vaishnavi, do we all understand this? Are we on the same page? Kishore, Neha, everyone is there. Okay, I'll give you a minute to note this down. Well, I hope you have noted this down, everyone. Okay, just note these important points and we will then wind up the class. So the next points are these important points. Angular velocity has dimension of 1 by t or t minus 1, and the SI unit is radians per second. We all know this. For a rigid body, which is rotational motion that you are talking about, when a rigid body is rotating, all the points will rotate by the same angle in the same time. They may have different radius, but their angular velocities are same. Therefore, the angular velocities of all points on that rigid body will be same. They cannot move with different angular velocities. You must remember that. If a body takes n revolution in t seconds or n rotations in t seconds, its average angular velocity will be total angle turned 2 pi into n divided by t. I hope you know this. The next part we will do in the next class, which is known as uniform circular motion. So we'll do this uniform circular motion in the next class. I hope that you write down this point number 1, 2, and 3. I hope you know what is uniform circular motion. If you know uniform circular motion, I can continue with this part as well. Do you know what is uniform circular motion? If omega, the angular velocity, is constant, then we call it as uniform circular motion. Do we all understand this? Yes or no? Do we all understand uniform circular motion? Yes, we all understand uniform circular motion. So every uniform circular motion has a time period, which is the time taken to complete one rotation, and it has a frequency, which is number of rotations in 1 second. So they all are related to each other. F frequency is 1 by t. I hope you know this for uniform circular motion. And omega is equal to 2 pi by t, or omega is equal to 2 pi into f. Sometimes this omega, which is angular velocity, is also known as angular frequency. So this is what you need to understand. Why it is known as angular frequency? Remember, this is f frequency and 2 pi is angle. Therefore, it is angle multiplied by frequency. So instead of calling it as angular velocity, especially in the chapter of alternating current, 12th standard, alternating current, you will again encounter this term of angular frequency. Now, that angular frequency is nothing but angular velocity, but we cannot call it angular velocity there because we are talking about something else. Angular velocity can also be called as angular frequency. I'll give you 2 minutes to note this down. The class from my side is over. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. I am here. We'll meet in the next class and we will go further ahead. What is that we have learned in today's class? We have learned these basics of circular motion, starting with angular position, which is given in terms of angle, theta. It's a scalar quantity. Then change in angular position is angular displacement. It is a scalar as well as a vector. For small angular displacement, it is vector. For large, it is scalar. Then angular velocity, average angular velocity is total displacement divided by total time. Total angular displacement divided by total time. Scalar quantity. Instantaneous angular velocity d theta by dt. Vector quantity. Direction is given in terms of axis. Right hand thumb rule. If the angular velocity is constant, then it is known as UCM, uniform circular motion. In uniform circular motion, everything has a time period. The Earth rotates on its axis in 24 hours. The Earth moves around the center of the sun in 365 days. It is fixed. That is UCM. Every UCM has a time period, time taken to complete one rotation. Every UCM has a frequency, number of rotations is 1 second, f is equal to 1 by t, omega is known as angular velocity, it is also known as angular frequency, 2 pi by t, 2 pi f. With this, I end today's class. I will keep this screen on for 2 minutes. You can note this down. We'll meet in the next class. Take care. And I hope you are all there in the next one. Bye-bye.